Hey, Randy Joe here, and welcome back to the channel where we have been listening to the entirety of Kate Bush's discography. We've been doing this as much as we can, trying to cover at least one album per month. Originally, I was doing one album a month, but now we're doing one every 2 weeks or so. I'm not sure if we'll keep on that pace, but it seems to be that most people in my comments want to see these videos pumped out as fast as possible, and at the end of the day, give them what they want. And today, what they want is to hear the reaction, to see my reaction to Kate Bush's 1982 album, The Dreaming. Now, ever since I started this discography series with her album Hounds of Love, when I did Art Pop April, another series I did where I covered art pop albums, I had people in my comments constantly saying that I need to listen to The Dreaming, that The Dreaming will be the most groundbreaking, riveting album I'm going to experience in her discography, one that will completely blow me away, one that will leave me bewildered, one that might scare me even, as some has suggested. And to that I say bring it on, because I love a good, groundbreaking, experimental album. I love an album that pushes the boundaries and leaves me on the edge of my seat, and it seems to be that The Dreaming will be the album to do so out of her discography. So I'm very excited to check it out. I do know this is where she really took on full production credits as well. She went all in on this one, pushed it to the very limits, and, really came into her own on this album. If you're interested in checking out my other reactions, please go ahead and check out the playlist. I will link it down below, or you can go to my channel and check it out there, where I reacted to her first 3 albums, as well as Hounds of Love, which kicked off the series. But without further ado, this is The Dreaming. Very excited. Don't want to waste any time here. 10 tracks, 42 minutes. The opening track here, Sat in Your Lap, is the name of it. And I will try to observe the lyrics, come up with my own interpretation before I check out anything else, because, as always, I want to try to come to my own conclusions as much as I can before I find out the true meaning of what a track might mean. And on top of that, I just think it will dilute the listening if we break it up too much. So, Sat in Your Lap, kicking it off. Let's see how crazy this ride gets. And I loved Never Forever, so I'm excited to see how this goes.
I see the people working and see it working for them, and still I want to join in.
Already very off-kilter sort of instrumental. I like those oohs in the background.
So can it happen for me? 'Cause when I am unhappy, there's nothing that
Her vocals, I love the way she's doing stark contrast between these different kind of pitches. Ooh. Very theatrical right off the bat. I like this. What is it? A drum machine in the background there too.
I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a
Kind of a continuous banging.
but I really can't be bothered with just
Oh. A lot of comparisons to Bowie one can make for Kate Bush, and I'm getting strong Bowie vibes from this track, simply because of how kind of bizarre and theatrical it feels.
some gray and white and matter.
Oh.
Coming up.
Very eerie. Some kind of horror tones, which she teased quite a bit on Never Forever. But the, I guess, gothic nature of that one really comes through towards that back end. Really interesting opening track. Certainly not your most conventional listen. But I dug it. Seems like a track that really dives into the concept of heaven and hell. But I'm not too sure. Some of those lyrics were a little bit more abstract than I was kind of going to this expecting. Kind of adds to that theatrical element, like I said. But let's just keep going. There Goes a Tenor is the next one here.
Okay, remember. Okay, remember
Oh,
that we have just allowed
even just like her vocals have a
to get into it and get
really unusual style to it.
adventure.
She's really putting strong inflections on it.
In my excitement turns
Mm.
into
I like how the sparseness of this one. I really like the synth work there. Very subtle, very simple. Adds like an airiness to it.
the lookout has parked the car but kept the engine running.
Really strange circus-like instrumental here. The way it kind of escalates and de-escalates.
3 beeps means trouble's coming.
Am I crazy? And hearing like a circus? It's kind of goofy sounding.
Ignite tenderly, partners act like actors.
Very playful nature too. It feels like she's playing vocally with the instrumentals. These strings are, ooh. Is that a string or a synth of some sort? Whatever it is. Really loving its
The safe up,
atmospheric tone.
then all I know is I wake up.
What is going on here?
One of them ran
Is this like some sort of robbery?
mummy. The government will never find the money. I've been
It sounds like this is a narrative about a robbery gone wrong.
in strange ways. I remember
Oh,
rich windy weather when you would catch
that background.
orchids floating in the breeze.
Can't even place what that is. That piano, the way it's sinking in,
There's a tensioning note.
has like a weird twisted effect on it.
Remember them? That's when we used to vote for him.
What is that track? I really liked There Goes a Tenor. I liked it more than Sat in Your Lap. I think this is an album, as expected, that is going to require quite a few repeated listenings. But There Goes a Tenor sounded like it was about some sort of robbery gone wrong, if we're following the lyrics closely. But I'm not quite sure. The song is a narration of a somewhat paranoid and frightened character ready to rob a bank with her partners. The robbery goes wrong, it seems, as they freak out. Uses a punctual drum, a cheerful piano, a bass, and various instruments to make it sound funny. Exactly what I said. I had like that kind of circus element to it. Fairlight CMI, which I know she used quite strongly throughout Never Forever, which I personally really loved the use of the Fairlight CMI on that one. Gives it a paranoid, dangerous feel, which again, you can certainly hear the emotion in the track more so than anything. I feel like that kind of off-kilter, bizarre, circus-like arrangement really comes through in that instrumental. Pull Out the Pin is this one. I will say this is already, I want to say, a weirder album than I've come to expect from her. I mean, Never Forever was already getting kind of weird. Oh, kind of a heavy reverb effect on that. Another war track, perhaps? Oh. Themes of war, not something that she has ever shied away from. Oh, I love that kind of belting out, strained vocal she did there. Right there on that I Love Life. It's strained. It's raspy. Ah, the strings on this feel like they're kind of straining as well. She's using sound effects quite heavily there throughout this track. Definitely the opposition of the Americans here, perhaps the British, but the Buddha part is throwing me off. Not sure which war this is specifically referencing. It's like a pain in her vocal. That like glitchy, what is that, a helicopter? It is a helicopter taking off. This is well over a decade after Nam, so I don't think it's a Vietnam. She's really pushing those instruments to the limits. Love the way this track has swelled up. I'm gathering the declaration of love for one's life while pulling out the pin. I'm thinking this is a suicide bomber. That is what I'm strongly believing here. As we come to an end, gets close to the American, pulls the pin. It's twisted instrumental. Remind me of Scary Monsters from Bowie. Specifically the end of It's No Game. That opening track. And I love the sort of Eastern influence too. Again, this protagonist sounds like a suicide bomber of some sort. Am I correct in believing that? Vietnam War, told from the perspective of the Viet Cong soldier who was fighting U.S. troops. Bush decided to write the song after watching an Australian documentary about the war. Jungle-like landscape, what you hear in those crickets, especially, and that helicopter noises that are heard, really again mimic the classic kind of Vietnam feel. Maybe it's not but I feel like the pull out the pin thing is referencing a suicide bomber of some sort, but I could be incorrect in that element, but it feels like it is in that declaration of I love life, kind of reinforcing the idea. Here's Suspended in Gaffa, which I think I've heard this one at one point or another. It is the most popular track. I've probably heard it in some capacity. But I don't know it well enough. Oh, I love her backup vocals through this. Beautiful backup vocals. Ooh, not just a glimpse of God, a glimpse of a God. Kind of like that distinction. Oh, I love the very airy nature of her vocals. And that drum as well. I do love how unconventional the instrumentals have been throughout this album so far. Pushing herself away from the mainstream as much as she possibly can, I feel like, with this album. Without going full-blown, like, noise. Oh. Really eerie whispers. I love how stylistically this one kind of shifts around into different territories. 2 minutes in and it feels like it's such a varied track. Oh. I have no idea what this track's about. I can't even decipher the meaning. Production-wise, this album is absolutely impeccable. Like, it's so beautifully theatrical. I feel like we're on some sort of Broadway. Super engaging this one was. Dynamic, incredible production. Very sweeping sort of instrumental too, and it's got like that heavy sort of pound in the background. But I have no idea what the narrative is. Let's check it out here. Songs, lyrics are about seeing something you really want, God in this case, then not being able to see or experience it ever again. They're being told that unless you work for it, you'll never see it again, and even then, you might not be worthy of it. We can't have it all refers to wanting the reward without working for it. Gaffa in the title and the chorus refers to gaffer's tape, the strong cotton cloth black tape used by technicians in films and production. Therefore refers to being trapped in a metaphorical web. Yeah. How would anyone decipher that without some sort of further reading? But I love the very abstract nature of it. Man, she has a way of writing narratives sometimes that are so very clear and not at all, written in a way to be incredibly metaphorical or complicated or complex, but then at other times can get super abstract and out there and niche in their sort of ideas that again you require further reading, which I like. It kind of adds a bit of diversity in her songwriting and shows that she's able to be just as accessible as she can be experimental. So continuing here though, Leave It Open, Suspended and Gaffa, fantastic. So far, every track here has been, at the very least, interesting. But does it get crazier? Does it get weirder here? Why does Spotify do that? Okay, there we go. Oh my goodness. Again, effects on the vocals. I love effects on vocals like this. However, released in 1982, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that's correct. I could certainly see why at the time this would have been a very bold decision. Not that people weren't playing with their vocals or doing really strange production choices such as The Dreaming. But, for someone as popular as her at the time to do something so bold, very few musicians really try to push that kind of boundary. But I do love when a musician does it, such as Bowie or Tom Waits also comes to mind, or Lou Reed, who's always just really doing whatever the hell he wanted. And again, it's very respectable as an artist. It shows the passion for the artistry and not the commercial aspect of it. Oh. God, I feel like she just possessed my brain. I love this sort of like descending vocal in that. When when she says harm in us. It's like a swinging descent. And the male vocals. Well, she's really pushing it now. Oh. These drums are flourishing. Oh, we're getting loud here. A little self-aware here. Let it in. God, I am loving this track. This is my favorite track so far. Favorite track. Yes, let it in. Holy hell. What? Wow. Words. Not coming to me because what an explosion of a track that was. Really builds up, gets weirder and weirder, and then it fully embraces the weirdness as that percussion splashes in. Feels like it just got beat over the head because it gets so kind of withdrawn in a way before she overwhelms you with just how loud and noisy it can get in that production. And super strange, unique choices in the vocal department, which I loved. Wow. The Dreaming, the title track here. Let's keep it going. I'll quickly check the meaning of that one. But I'm not sure I even care. I just enjoyed it on I enjoyed it on the sonic level. The song's about letting one's true weird self shine, which is what I thought, because she's embracing the weirdness so much on the album. For many of us, we only publicly show certain aspects of our character. That's true. Well, we keep the other weird, odd, but sometimes interesting parts of ourselves hidden away. Love the meaning of this track. Love the execution of it. Really pushing the weirdness as much as she can, and it is super admirable. Let's go into The Dreaming here. Title track. God, it's like this album is getting weirder and weirder. Like this delivery. It's got a bounciness to it. Vocally, she is by far the most varied and ranged out that we've ever heard her so far at this point in her discography. This reminded me of another culture, but I can't quite put something European, maybe Irish, I don't know. But there's something about the delivery. I really love the use of like kind of phaser on her vocals. Oh my god. These backup vocals. I feel like we're in some sort of seance or some sort of witchcraft worship. Oh my god. I'm picturing witchcraft. is going on? Sorry, is that a deep like synth as well in the background there? I didn't even notice. So much going on. Such an incredibly dense track. Oh, let me get this twisted sound, which I heard before. Almost reminded me of a hurdy-gurdy or something. This album is getting weirder and weirder, I will say that. Loved the direction of that track as well. This whole album, every track so unique, so different, yet it does feel very conceptually consistent for the most part. Everything seems to flow pretty smoothly. None of the kind of styles that she does kind of, like starkly contrast one another in a way that it feels kind of out of place or jarring. Everything here feels very uniform, while at the same time, every track being incredibly unique. And the Dreaming title track, 100% no different. It's weird. It's out there. It's super dense in its production. I love the effects on her vocals. I love the deep, sort of ominous tone towards the back end of that one. And the playful nature of the way she delivers the vocals too, reminding me of something kind of European, some sort of dance, but I'm not placing it. Night of the Swallow, let's keep going here. It's about the indigenous reality in Australia. Playing with a didgeridoo. Didgeridoo. Haven't heard that one in a while. Night of the Swallow though, let's keep going. Ooh. That didgeridoo, the rest of the instrumental, flowing into this one. Sorry if I cut that transition, but I'm acknowledging it at least. This one coming a little bit more stripped back. Her piano work on display. Okay. The vocals are very, kind of buried at times. Very hushed, very withdrawn. I love this sort of Scandinavian twist. This one is feeling like a little bit closer to Never Forever. Not as experimental, which is a nice come down after the last two tracks especially. Really love her soft, beautiful piano playing being a nice strong element back in the mix. Are those I want to say bagpipes? Perhaps that's the Uilleann Pipes by Liam O'Flynn. And the fiddle. Not sure what this track's about. Clearly some sort of plane flight, but I'm not sure. Oh. Again, like a lot of these tracks, it gets very dense in this back end here. Climactic. Very climactic. I feel like this album, sonically speaking, is like taking us all over the world with all these different sort of roots in their sound. That one having a very strong Scottish or Scandinavian sort of twist on it. I'm not sure what that one was about either, but I did like it. I do think it is not nearly as, experimental as some of the other tracks, which is nice because it does give us a little bit of a breather after Leave It Open and The Dreaming being super weird and out there. Without checking yet, I'm gonna say some sort of plane flight. Is the vaguest idea. No idea. Song is written from the perspective of the lover of a smuggler begging him not to go on his next journey. Kate Bush said in 1982, in this song, she wants to control him, and because he wants to do something that she doesn't want him to, she feels that he's going away. It's almost on a parallel with the mother and son relationship, where there is the same female feeling of not wanting the young child to move away from the nest. Of course, from the guy's point of view, because she doesn't want him to go, the urge to go is even stronger. For him, it's not so much a job as it is a challenge, a chance to do something risky and exciting. Okay. Interesting. Not something I would have picked up on. All the love, though. Let's just keep going. This has been an adventure, if I've ever heard one. I like this guitar work. Eerie, ominous.
Say why do it now when I won't be around? I'm going out.
Oh, I love how, like a choir, it's soft. This track playing a lot with space and subtleties so far. Something that I think she's already mastered at this point in her discography. God, this is so atmospheric, eerie. Kind of religious in tone. This is a really warm delivery. This one feels like it's hitting in the chest. Ooh. This one's really kind of clouded. I absolutely love the subtlety of this track. Much more stripped away. Maybe this is speaking on her fame. People who didn't believe her, who didn't give her the love and support she needed as a musician. But it's not her like her to get too personal, so I'm not sure if that's the case. Ooh. Oh my god, I love this. Sampling goodbyes on a machine, a message machine. I wonder how real these are. Should she take these from her machine directly? Super subtle. I loved that track. I loved how stripped away it was, how it wasn't nearly as in your face as some of these other tracks, and really focused on her vocals and the atmosphere, this very eerie atmosphere more than anything. As for what it's about, I am gathering regrets, maybe being betrayed by those you love, not getting the support you require, you need. But I'm not sure if she would get that personal if this is about Kate Bush herself. As always, we will check. All the Love is the 8th song on Kate Bush's 4th studio album, The Dreaming. It is a song about being alone and about how grief can often lead to feelings being shown that wouldn't otherwise be shown. So, that I wouldn't have gotten. But I do get the loneliness feeling, certainly in that instrumental being super ominous, eerie, isolated sounding, like a deep depression. But I do, this Kate is stressing that it's important to display feelings of love before it is too late, as often people forget to express true feelings before it's too late and tragedy strikes. Again, kind of what I was saying with the whole regrets, kind of regretting to say you love someone, regretting to, or not to say you love someone, I should say, regretting not expressing yourself is what I'm trying to say, which I'm certainly hearing in the track, and what I was kind of gathering And I wonder how isolated Kate Bush was becoming at the time, especially with the newfound fame, and maybe this is her way of exploring that idea. Houdini is the next one here. 2 tracks left. Every track here has been spectacular. Just breathtaking in their vision. Is this about the Houdini? I wonder. Oh, I like the way it's picking up. Passing the key. Perhaps again a Houdini reference. Oh. Really straining her vocal again. Pushing it. Which I love. It's super bold. Kind of abrasive, alienating. These strings are gorgeous. Oh. Certainly about Houdini, I'm gathering here. Is there some sort of, oh my god. Is this perhaps Houdini's assistant? Who's, kind of in fear for Houdini, putting himself in such danger. Not even her eternity can hold Houdini. Powerful, powerful lyrics. I'd catch the cues watching you, hoping you do something wrong. Is there some sort of bitterness towards Houdini? Maybe mistreatment? The strings on this track, absolutely gorgeous. As the instrumental makes way for them. During his incredible lifetime, Houdini took it upon himself to expose the whole spirituals thing. You know, seances and mediums, which there's a reference to a medium earlier in the track. He found a lot of them to be phony, but before he died, Houdini and his wife worked out a code so that if he came back after his death, his wife would notice him by the code, which I was gathering at throughout the track. She mentions a medium early on. Perhaps Houdini is speaking to her through this medium, through these subtle codes. So after his death, his wife made several attempts to contact her dead husband, and on one occasion, he did come through to her. I thought that was so beautiful, the idea that this man who had spent his life escaping from chains and ropes had actually managed to contact his wife. The image was so beautiful that I had to write a song about it. Really love the not even eternity line. Not even eternity will hold Houdini. Kind of speaking on him breaking through the boundary of planes of existence, essentially, as a spirit form connects with his wife after passing. Incredible. He's escaping the spiritual world, in essence. Incredible songwriting, really great strings throughout this one. Beautiful vocal performance from Kate here as she pushes it to the extreme, strains her voice as she pleads for her lover. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Super literate. Just incredible songwriting so far. Get Out of My House is the name of the last track here. Let's get into it. This album has flown by like every Kate Bush album does. The pacing is impeccable because of the stylistic change-ups. Really making the pacing feel quick. I'm sorry, hee-haw? Got a cowboy? I like that effect on the vocal. This one really wrapping around us. This one's getting Very dynamic, very swirling. Whatever's in the background there. Love it. Maybe her strongest onslaught of vocals we've heard yet. God. It's like there's like spirits or something in this one. I can't quite place it, but it's got a very supernatural element. Again, a very gothic album, it feels like. That is a beautiful synth of some sort, perhaps. Oh. I love the male vocals that she uses in her albums. Oh. What? No, this is pushing it. She's really doing... He's really doing... donkey noises. Like, I'll change into the mule, literally becoming the mule here. But what does this mean? I really like this part. Not sure what they're saying. Oh, just... That's what they're saying. Da-da. Da-dee, da-da, da-da-dee, da-da. This is maybe... I don't know if this is the weirdest track, but this is certainly up there with those donkey noises. They turn into the mule, as she states in the lyric. Get Out of My House. Crazy final track. Really weird. Really out there. And... not one I was able to decipher at all. I could not make heads or tails of what the meaning is whatsoever. Very supernatural sounding, very gothic, I would say. Citing influences from Stephen King's novel The Shining, there's the horror elements, and Ridley Scott's movie Alien, phenomenal movie, she decided to write about isolation and the fear and anger that can follow. The house is a metaphor for the singer's personal life, and after a bad breakup, she shuts everyone out and reacts with anger to anyone who tries to get to know her. Even though she is scared of being alone, she still refuses to let anyone in, remaining, as the song's final sentence implies, as stubborn as a mule. And that's the hee-haw from Mr. Paul Hardiman and Esmail Sheikha? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But she becomes the mule as she shuts out people, becomes very isolated. Themes of isolation, a common thing so far throughout the album. But that does it for the reaction portion of this video. Let's just do a wrap up. Let's talk about it. Let's go over what I liked and what I didn't like. What I liked, every track here. As you can see, I thought they were all fantastic. I thought they were all super diverse, and like I said earlier in this video, all very unique yet at the same time uniform to one another. There's like this kind of overwhelming sense of kind of a gothic horror absurdity to the sound of this album. It really pushes the sort of uncomfortability one can put into a listener before it never goes full blown, unlistenable, but it does try to teeter onto that point at times, such as on Leave It Open and The Dreaming. That midpoint of the album is, I feel like, the peak of how weird, out there, and just strange she can get before she pulls things back away in Night of the Swallow, which I think does bring things down, kind of similar to Never Forever kind of vibes. Thematically, this album is really consistent as well. It's beautiful. You've got tracks like Houdini, you got tracks like Pull Out the Pin, There Goes a Tenor, very literary heavy tracks. Get Out of My House, another one kind of referencing King at times in terms of her influence, and Alien as well. You can really hear the sort of narrative focus that she has at times, while other tracks are really unique and out there, and one that I feel like without, researching it, without looking further into it, one would not at all know what it is about. It is super abstract in tone on some of these tracks, such as Suspended in Gaffa, which left me bewildered and confused by the lyrics of the track. Negatives of this album? There wasn't more. It's a good album. What can I say? This thing was fantastic. I honestly felt the pacing was fantastic too. And when I say there wasn't more, I really mean it, because at 42 minutes, it flew by. I honestly could have listened to another 20 minutes of this album if she had more to say, if she had more to add. I'm sure it would have been just as interesting and as, complex as some of the compositions on this thing, because again, she is certainly in her element on this album, and it feels like she fully embraces the weirdness and the absurdity that one can have in a creative environment that is entirely self-produced and artistically, creatively free. And it does feel like the most creatively free she has been so far in her discography. Again, having heard Kick Inside, Lionheart, Never Forever, and Hounds of Love, which I kicked off the series of, even though it is the 4th album in her discography just after this one here. I do feel like The Dreaming is her most unique venture in a lot of ways, although Hounds of Love might be her taking the very unique abstract nature of The Dreaming, and I think trying to hone it in and equal its absurdity with a certain sense of accessibility, kind of switching away from what we're talking about here. But Hounds of Love, I think, is an album that feels like it's trying to find beauty, whereas The Dreaming feels like it's trying to find a twisted mind almost. They kind of parallel one another with how disturbed this one is, and Hounds of Love feels so just beautiful and kind of soaring in its sort of direction. But yeah, what's this the weirdest Kate Bush album I've heard yet? Like people suggested, 100%. Not even close. Hounds of Love was a weird album, and there's certain elements of it that are certainly unique, and I think most artists wouldn't even approach to do. But The Dreaming, this is out there. This is unique. This is different. This is weird. This is Kate Bush. But that does it for today's video. If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe, follow along, and listen to more Kate Bush albums. Because after this, we are obviously going to jump over Hounds of Love, since I've already heard it, did the reaction. Check it out on the channel if you haven't already. But we're going to jump over Hounds of Love, and we're going right into her next album, which is, I believe, The Sensual World, if I'm not mistaken. So we will check that one out next. And maybe we will wait a little bit longer, since I feel like, I want to take in this album as much as possible before I move forward. And I'm going to re-listen to all her work again, because I do want to try to absorb her work as much as possible throughout this Kate Bush discography series, so I can try to talk as in-depth as possible as I can. Subscribe if you like the video. Follow along for more Kate Bush videos. And as always, my name is Randy Joe. I appreciate you watching, and I'm signing off.